What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna go over all the best decks that you should be playing on rank if you want to level up and hit Master Ball rank, get win streaks, and yeah, let's go and cover everything. Alright, the first deck we're gonna talk about is Greninja EX. This deck right here is really strong. Now, the one thing that ended up changing from the old version is Indeedee was added in, and basically Giratina was swapped out. That being said, in this format, Giratina is just a little too slow, and I don't think it's great anymore. So, that being said, Indeedee's out here giving more HP, to all the Pokemon in the front row that need it. And Suicune is just there doing, draw engine stuff while, you search for your Greninjas, and, you just set up your Froakies on the board. And, not only that, you have cards like Copycat for consistency, Professor's Research, and Suicune's ability is so good. It makes the deck really consistent and super strong. Just overall strong performing deck. It's been winning multiple tournaments and doing really well on the ladder. Now, that being said, is one of the best decks right now, and if you're not playing it, I don't know, you're just missing out. Now, this deck right here is a little different. Instead of adding the Indeedee, you're playing the Bounce Frogadier. This Bounce Frogadier does actually come up, and when it comes up, you deal 40 damage, and then you switch with one of your bench Pokemon, so you could, preserve that bridge in order to evolve into Greninja EX. You do want to prioritize Greninja EX in this build, so you're playing 2 and 1 regular Greninja. So the 2 Greninja EX, you're dealing 100 damage. Unlike Suicune, you don't really need a full bench, on your opponent's side and on your side in order to start doing some damage. You could just go off with that 1 Greninja and have Suicune as a backup attacker, and, you still have to respect Suicune on the board, right? You don't want to put as many Pokemon on the board because that'll just make it a lot, you're just giving more options to defeat you. But that being said, Greninja EX with 170, HP is just super strong in this format, and overall just became one of the best decks overall. Whether you play the Indeedee version or the Frogadier version, you are going to be successful in the latter. The next deck I want to talk about is Blaziken EX. This is one of my favorite decks. I love fire decks, and just overall, you can't go wrong with the Heatmore package. Like, Heatmore hitting the bench and putting pressure on Mega Absol or Altaria or whatever they have in the back is so good, and pairing it with Double Cyrus is also amazing. You have Copycat, Lily, Rare Candy, Rocky Helmet, Flame Patch, just so many different options in order to pop off with this deck. The Rocky Helmet's really good against Oricorio or anything that, targets your Pokemon with an attack. Anything that's like a Mega or an EX, because it just puts it in kill range for Mega Blaziken just to knock out. The next deck I want to talk about is a very anti-meta-ish deck. It's going to be Zeraora, Oricorio, and Greninja. The deck is like a very old school version of like, the one that we had with Giratina and Sylveon. But, you just cut out the fluff and then just have the consistency package here. You definitely have the Zeraora to, have the electric charge and just deal 50 damage on opposing, Oricorios or anything like that. Oricorio is just good, in general for any EX Pokemon. Greninja sniping in the back row, and then you play the Double Cyrus. The deck is really good. It has performed really well in a tournament setting, and it is anti-meta, so it does play well against the meta decks. But if you get paired into something like a Magnezone or something that's off meta, the deck will struggle a little bit. But as long as you're playing meta, which that's what you basically see a lot on the ladder, this deck should be fine, and you should get you multiple wins. The next deck I want to talk about is Mega Altaria, showing a really dominant force in the beginning of the format. It's just overall a no-brainer because it statistically had the highest win rate in tournaments and in general prior to rank even going on. And, you know, that being said, just Chingling, Jirachi, you know, really good pair. Indeedee, just always healing, passive healing, your Mega Altaria with the 190 HP. You know, it's really not going to go down in one hit, more like 2 or 3. And, you know, you got Licia, so you can search the Swell Blues. Say if you get hit with Chingling, it doesn't matter. We only play like one item card, which is one Pokeball. And then you got the May for consistency, Copycat for consistency, Sabrina, Rocky Helmet, Mars, Cyrus. So the deck just works really smooth and overall is really great. The last deck I want to talk about is Chingling and Hydragon. Overall, the best solid pick that you could go for. Just like Chingling is really strong because there's a lot of decks that are using rare candy and, you know, other item cards. Even like in the mirror match, you know, if they're looking for their, you know, Dano or anything else or a Chingling of their own, they're gonna be put in a position where they have to lead out with Mega Absol in order to get rid of the Chingling while you build up your Hydreigon or Mega Absol to get the revenge kill. Or, you know, you could just outpace them in that manner, and then, you know, odds are, you know, are they really gonna even draw their Absol being at 1? Because most of these decks are playing, you know, the same builds and only running one Absol. But like overall, this deck is super consistent because you got Copycat, Professor's Research, Cyrus, you know, Pokemon Center Lady, the 2 Pokeballs, double rare candy obviously for Hydreigon, and the Rocky Helmets, of course. Overall, I want to say like these are, you know, the top decks that I would recommend you guys play on the ladder for a high success rate. Let me know if you guys, you know, what your results are with these decks, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.